SBC Media.
Welcome to the iGaming Daily Podcast, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market.
We are in the middle of an inflection point when it comes to U.S. sports betting, particularly when it comes to advertising. While ESPN's Outside the Lines and 60 Minutes are ready to cast a probing eye on the industry this week, the industry is responding with a star-studded list of athletes and celebrities promoting sportsbooks. And one of those names stands out above the rest. LeBron James announced this week that he will be working with DraftKings Sportsbook. Is this partnership more fuel for the fire? Or is it a sign that sports betting is going mainstream? We're going to discuss all that and more on today's episode of iGaming Daily. iGaming Daily is presented by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. 56% of the EGR Power 50 personalized player experiences with Optimove. Other special offer from Optimove. Optimove is offering new clients a free first month when they buy Optimove. For more information and to claim the free month, go to optimove.com/SBC. And lastly, I've said this a couple times, I'm not going to ICE, but the rest of you are. And you need to be sure to go by the Optimove stand. Just mention that you've listened to iGaming Daily and you've heard about Optimove on there, and you will get a free Amazon gift card. So I am Jessica Welman, editor of SBC Americas, and my media manager, Charlie Horner, is here. Have you been plugging this to all the people you're going to talk with at ICE next week?
Absolutely. Who wouldn't know about this splendid offer by this point?
Free stuff. Who doesn't love free stuff? Who else? Who else people love? That's not my best segue, let's be honest. And he's a bit contentious, I'll be honest, LeBron James, but I'm going to do what I do every time, Charlie. You're not an American. What do you know about LeBron James?
It's everyone's favorite segment on the podcast.
I know.
It's Charlie, you're not American.
Charlie's not an American.
This is a US sports star that, again, when we mentioned Tom Brady last week, this is an American athlete that I think everyone in the world, or near enough everyone in the world, has heard of. LeBron James, one of the biggest NBA stars ever, if not the biggest NBA star ever. Couldn't tell you what position he played. Couldn't tell you much
what team
about
he's
him.
on now.
He's the LA Lakers, right?
Look at you go.
There we go.
Nice. I'll be honest, I have not watched I love college basketball. The NBA is not my speed. And LeBron James, one of the few that was of that era where you could skip going to college. So I've seen him play a little bit, but like you, I just know so much about him. Not because I've sought him out, but because he is just one of those people that is in that kind of like Taylor Swift, Tom Cruise echelon of just no matter what you do, you know who this person is.
Yeah, there's a very small but specific group of athletes that sort of exit the athlete stratosphere and enter the mega super celebrity sphere, and LeBron James is definitely one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I thought when we were talking about Tom Brady being in a BetMGM commercial that was going to be the top of the star power for this month. But the news yesterday that LeBron James is going to be working with DraftKings Sportsbook was quite the announcement. I'm really racking my brain, and I can't think of another athlete who has the same kind of reach and impact. I mean, we're talking hundreds of millions of social media followers, a reputation and legacy as a living legend. He gets called the GOAT a lot. Can you think of, and maybe there's one that's more of a worldwide soccer star like a Messi or something, who has the same kind of reach as LeBron James that has partnered with a sports book?
Yeah, maybe not that's partnered with a sports book, because, and it's going to be a point that I'll go into a little bit later, just being in the world of regulated markets makes it difficult sometimes to pen deals with active sports stars globally. But yeah, I mean, we are in our own little echo chambers, I guess. But, you know, Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo would be two other sports stars that are in that same sort of bracket as LeBron James, but I don't think they've penned deals with active sports books. So maybe LeBron is the biggest name, or maybe it's Tom Brady. Who knows?
Well, I mean, and that's just a commercial too. You know, it's not what this is, which is a far-reaching partnership. I will say, so Ronaldo has worked with poker stars before. I know that they've gotten huge soccer stars to participate in poker, but that's a step removed from betting on sports, which is the thing that has made you famous.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, and I'd say this from the outset. I don't think this would fly in the UK with some of the advertising standards that we have in place now. Having an active sports star promoting a sports book, I just don't think that would really be allowed. Obviously, I know that this is primarily a football-based partnership instead of a basketball-based partnership, but I still think the point still stands that it's a little bit difficult because he is still an active player.
Yeah, I will say when we first repealed PASPA, the idea of an active athlete promoting a sports book felt very out of bounds and not allowed. And it was very much retired sports stars that were getting involved in promotion. I believe the NHL was kind of the first that started to let some of these active players get involved a little bit in promotion. And we've seen some MLB stars. And then, you know, I'm extending the definition of athlete very broadly, but we've seen boxers like Jake Paul own a sports book. So we've changed things a lot. To clarify, so the collective bargaining agreement that NBA had most recently with its players, which was from January of last year, did address sports betting specifically, because previously, you are right, he would not have been allowed to do this. Now, players are allowed to participate and promote sports betting. They're allowed to own up to 1% of a sports book, and so long as they have a passive role in the management of said sports book. And that's why this is a football-geared partnership. Now, LeBron has been on social media and done his kind of football picks in the past before, so it's not like just out of nowhere. He's like, can't talk about basketball, guess I'm just going to make football picks. He follows football. He has shared football picks before, so they are leaning into something existing, but they're presenting it very specifically that this is not about basketball. For you, does that make much of a difference?
Not particularly.
Doesn't pass your smell test, does it?
No, you just read it as, oh, LeBron James is linking with DraftKings. I might go and bet with DraftKings now. That's the
that's the point.
That's the point, yeah. It's not the point that it's football over NBA.
Yeah, and the image is not LeBron, surrounded by football gear. The image is him doing his signature throwing of the chalk, which he does during before games, I believe. And the chalk is, I will say, it's a really cool image that the marketing department came up with. The chalk is making the DraftKings crown. Like he's in a basketball uniform. So I get that you're not encouraging betting on the NBA, but I don't think anybody, God willing, someone does the study of how many people follow LeBron James, because, man, the guy just picks great football picks. So you're right that this is a little bit of an interesting one. I'm curious what you think of the timing of this, because I have a couple of thoughts on it, but I will let you go first.
Well, I mean, right ahead of the Super Bowl, you want to make a big splash. LeBron James is quite a big name, as we've discussed. So I think that, you want to make that big statement, marketing ploy. I think this is it. From a marketing perspective, it's brilliant. I think it has got everyone's eyes on DraftKings ahead of the big game. And as we discussed last week, a lot of the focus and attention is probably going to be on BetMGM and Caesars because of that land-based presence that they have in Vegas. So DraftKings and FanDuel need to make their own sort of big noise, and they're doing that with obviously Gronk on the FanDuel side and LeBron James on the DraftKings side. So yeah, I think it's, from a marketing perspective, it's great.
I'm curious, Chris Grove, who is an investor and I used to work for him, has been an affiliate in the past, just knows the industry very well, pointed out that you have to assume there was some sort of hiccup in finalizing the last details of this, and the goal was for it to kind of coincide with the announcement of Flutter being on the New York Stock Exchange and kind of trying to steal some of that thunder a little bit. I will say, too, I was talking with Justin Byers, our senior journalist at SBC Americas, about the DraftKings Super Bowl commercial, because it was, no offense, it's a ho-hum. It's funny enough. It's Kevin Hart doing a riff of an old Dallas Cowboys coach, Jimmy Johnson, but it's not this big deal the way the FanDuel and BetMGM's ads we talked about the other week were. So I am not surprised that this is the big announcement, because the commercial seemed very underwhelming. The other thing that is super interesting to me about this, and I don't think you could really have helped it, because some of this, they weren't sure on when these were coming out. We've known for a couple months now that this was coming, but today, ESPN's Outside the Lines, which is kind of like its hard news division, aired the first of what's going to be 4 segments on sports betting that I think is going to take a very critical look at sports betting and how it is promoted and presented to people in America, particularly young people. On Sunday, I have seen the preview for the 60 Minutes piece, and I guarantee you it's not going to be flattering about the sports betting industry based on the minute that I saw, which, we'll see. To then have this huge announcement that this huge star that has very far-reaching audience that arguably reaches into a very younger demographic, are you kind of putting a target on your back in the middle of all of this? You know what I mean? I don't think you can necessarily call it off, but I'm curious what kind of conversations are taking place behind the scenes, given that the scrutiny is coming this week.
Yeah, I mean, the scrutiny is coming this week, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be big. It's going to be loud. It was for a lot of last year as well. And again, just I'll reiterate the point. I don't think this would fly at all in the UK. Given, that,
it's not Canada too.
Exactly.
He can't do anything in Canada unless it's an RG ad.
Yeah, and I think it's going to, attract a lot of critics on the safer gambling side of the industry. I think we're going to see a lot of criticism in these 2 media pieces as well, because it can attract people who are under the age of 18 or 21.
Yeah, this one is going to be interesting. And then I guess the kind of last question on this is, we know there's going to cast a negative light on it. It's very impressive that they got him. It's great to me. The positive side of this is that someone this big isn't scared of a gambling brand being part of their portfolio, which has generally been the case with a lot of famous people, that you don't want to associate. Working in poker, it was very hard to get certain people and certain brands to associate with poker because it's gambling and people have a negative perception of it. And we're getting to a point where it feels more and more mainstream. I guess the big question for me is, how much does this move the needle in terms of getting people on your site betting money on it?
It would be interesting to see some statistics off the back of that. It'd be great to see if anyone's done a study of that kind of thing. I think really for DraftKings, they are quote unquote like the kings of sportsbook, and they're getting the quote unquote king of NBA. It feels like a pretty good fit, but whether it will convert into, hundreds of thousands or millions of new players, I'd like to see, a study on that.
Yeah, I don't think we really know from any of these if a Kevin Hart, a Jamie Foxx, other than brand awareness, which is certainly important, how much this really accomplishes anything. And I kind of ask myself, we're all pretty aware of DraftKings. In the United States, I've seen enough DraftKings commercials that I know that it exists. So we'll see if this kind of signing actually brings in a new round of people. That remains to be seen. All right, we're going to take a quick break and pivot from, this very star-studded discussion to a much more granular local discussion. We're going to do a legislative roundup of what's been happening on that front. So stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Brazil, a global economic powerhouse, deeply passionate about sports, and now home to one of the hottest markets in gaming. And we're giving it the full SBC treatment. Join industry leaders, market experts, and all the major players in the country for 3 days of content, exhibition, and epic networking at the first ever SBC Summit Rio.
All right, welcome back to iGaming Daily. Charlie, I'm sure you're quite sad that you don't get to sit in on all of these legislative meetings anymore, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking a little bit earlier about some of the quotes from Georgia earlier, and it brought back a lot of great memories from last year covering these.
Yeah, Georgia is literally, as we are recording, talking on the Senate floor through one of two bills that has been introduced. A reminder, Georgia, it's up for debate if it needs a constitutional amendment to bring sports betting to the state. The version that is currently being discussed is one without a constitutional amendment. Senator Bill Cowsert, who has introduced the version that does have a constitutional amendment, has already spoken and kind of said, you're setting yourself up for failure with this if you don't go ahead and solve this problem to begin with. Of course, that does require higher threshold of approval in the House and Senate, and of course, taking it to the voters. Mississippi, which has had retail sports betting since 2018, but is looking at possibly expanding into online sports betting. That bill could hit the House floor as early as today. And you know what, Charlie, did you do Hawaii last year? I feel like that was yours and not mine.
There was a little murmur about Hawaii, yeah, but I believe we've got two bills in Hawaii that have been filed now.
We've got like 3 or 4.
Wow.
So there are competing sports betting bills. One would be like a lottery monopoly on sports betting, and that would also allow for online poker. Even, by the way, just pointing out, even if you did compacting with other states, save for Nevada, all of these are on Eastern time. I just don't know what poker tournaments are running on a 6-hour difference that can capture both audiences, but good luck, Hawaii, if you do it. The other one is a more open model, but it's a very broad bill. There's not tax rates, licensing fees. There's not much of anything on it yet. The thing that is interesting about that bill, and also a bill to bring a commercial casino to Oahu, is that it's the chairman of the Committee for Economic Development that has put forth these bills. And last year, it was him who kind of said, I just don't know if we need the, incremental $7 million that we're going to get from this. So him changing on that is potentially promising for the potential of the bill. Hawaii, tough place, though. For those of you who don't know, really not a gambling kind of town or state. They have the lottery, I believe, but they don't have anything else. Tourist industry doesn't want that stuff for the most part.
They've got beautiful beaches and sunshine all the time. Who needs casinos? Well, clearly they do now.
Well, the Oahu casino one is kind of interesting because it's kind of set apart that it needs to be west of this area I believe it's called Kelowna, which is private beaches and some of the fancier resorts. And they're kind of saying, like, you can build one, but it can't be anywhere near here. What's interesting, too, and I do appreciate, is that it would involve establishing the Hawaii Gaming Commission. One of the commissioners would need to be familiar with native practices, cultures, and customs, and make sure that those are being integrated into what they're doing. And anybody pursuing the casino license will need to present a plan of hiring the native population and training them, as well as incorporating the native elements of Hawaii into the resort itself.
Well, that can only be a positive.
Yeah. It's kind of it feels like it's taken a tip of the cap from tribal gaming, and so not really surprised that that's something that they would take up given the culture of that place. I am about to hit publish and read. Justin Byers has written up that Montana tribe has been allowed to offer sports betting, so that's another state where we're getting. It feels like a technicality that we're and Montana, but it's just the one tribe, so I wouldn't get too excited about it. That's my legislative roundup. Charlie, what is going on in your neck of the woods? Anything people should check out on SBC's network of sites?
Well, I think some pretty significant news dropped yesterday when Penn announced that the Score leadership, the Levy family, are parting ways with the company. Around 3 years after the acquisition was made. And obviously, John Levy founded the Score and led that brand. And now they're parting ways. So that seems like a very significant story. And I'm sure there'll be lots of conversations to be had about that in the coming days and weeks.
Yeah, lots of shakeups at Penn. So John Levy leaving next month, Benji Levy, and then the two other Levies. I feel like it's like the Marx Brothers. Like I can't even keep up with all of them. Is there a Groucho?
Noah and Aubrey.
That's right. Thank you. Benji was head of Interactive for Penn, so they will be looking actively for a new role for that. I don't know if that's a job I would want. I'm going to be honest, given the pressure on ESPN Bet to perform. Good luck to whoever assumes that extremely high stress job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Godspeed to you all. All right. We will not talk to you guys next week. Charlie might, because we will be live on the floor of ice all week for iGaming Daily next week. So be sure to tune in and check that out. And we'll be back in a couple weeks with the latest news on the U.S. and North American side of things here at iGaming Daily.
Thank you for listening to today's iGaming Daily podcast, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News Network or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.